This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and today we're going to be testing the Kryptonite Evolution motorcycle disc brake lock. Now, some of you may recall that I recently featured this lock in video number 564. In that video, I picked this lock open and then took it apart to show you what was inside. Now, while that video certainly shows that this lock is susceptible to being picked, it doesn't strike me as a major security flaw, because the tools and skills required to open disc detainer locks, such as the one in this product, tend to be relatively rare. However, since that video, I've been thinking a lot about the construction of this Kryptonite Evolution, and it seems to me that it might be susceptible to an exploit in which it can be opened relatively quickly and quietly without any special skills or tools. In fact, the only tools that you would need would be a screwdriver and a normal plumbing torch. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to cut the video and I'm going to take this Kryptonite Evolution apart and show you what I perceive the security flaw to be. Then I will also take this Kryptonite New York lock apart and show you why I don't think the same flaw is present in this lock. So let me take these apart and then I'll restart the video. Okay, I have the two locks apart, so let's take a look at the Kryptonite Evolution and the potential security flaw I see inside. The construction of this is a thick steel tube for the housing and then a plastic structure on the inside. Within that plastic structure are the two locking lugs that hold the shackle in place, and then the core right in between them. On the back of the core is an actuator that in this position will keep those lugs from moving, or if you were to insert the key and rotate it, it would allow them to retract. My concern is that turning this actuator can be done in more than one way. You can either insert the key and turn just the actuator, or you could turn the entire core. And the problem here is the only thing keeping the entire core from turning is the fact that it's set in this plastic housing. Now, I did a brief check to see if this was a plastic that could be easily softened with heat, and in fact it is. So the potential security flaw might be exploited if one were to heat the outside of the lock body, which would in turn heat this plastic to the point that the entire core could be rotated without actually inserting the key. If you could do that, of course, then it would allow these bolts to retract and the lock could open. If we move over to the New York lock, you can see it's not susceptible to that attack because it's comprised of two steel tubes and a plastic housing. And if we were to slide this out, we can see that the inner steel tube is what keeps that core from rotating. So even if you were to heat up the outside of this lock body, even to the point of melting that plastic, you still could not rotate that core unless you reach the melting point of steel, which you're not doing with easily portable tools. So I have no idea whether this potential exploit is actually an issue. So what I'm going to do is put this lock back together. I'll probably keep some of the plastic off the outside to avoid smelling my garage up. And then we're going to get a normal plumbing torch and a screwdriver and see if we can open this up. Okay, I reassembled the lock and we are down in the garage. I left some of the plastic bits off so we don't stink the place up. Let's take a quick look inside so you can confirm that nothing has changed since you saw it last time. You can see we have our actuator and locking lugs. And the core, nothing is melted, everything's intact. Okay, let's put this back on. Then I'm going to turn the torch on, start heating this lock body up. And every few minutes, or I'm going to check it with this screwdriver, just stick it in and turn and see if we can open the thing up. Okay, as you can see, it took a little bit longer than I was expecting to open, and the mode of defeat is different than what I was expecting. I think what we did is actually melt the actuator. So I'm going to put this little fire out, take everything apart, and hopefully I'll be able to get everything out so we can see what happened. Okay, here we have the wreckage of our little experiment, and there's actually quite a bit that we can learn from it. Now, it took about 4 minutes for the lock to open, which was a little bit longer than I was expecting. It also opened in a different way from what I was expecting. And looking at this wreckage, it's pretty clear why that is. If we look at this core and imagine the screwdriver I inserted in, that screwdriver probably picked up about the first 3 discs. Those were right here in the front of the core, exactly where the lock body melted away. So as I was turning those discs, they were spinning freely inside of the lock body and not imparting rotation to the back of the core and the actuator. So I think in retrospect, had I used a tool that reached all the way to the back of the core, it might have opened a whole lot faster. From this wreckage, we can also see the actual failure mode. In fact, it's pretty clear. We can look at this melted plastic and see the locking lug, which ought to be up here on the edge of the oval shape, fell down and is on the side of the oval shape now. So as the plastic melted, the locking lugs fell out of place and the shackle could be opened. So what do you think about this little experiment? Do you think this is actually a security flaw with the Kryptonite evolution, or is this something that's far too impractical to ever see on the street? I'm really curious to hear what you think, so please put it in the comments below. That's it for today. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day. Thank you.